Wow, here we are again. So glad to be with you today. We're going to read Psalm 79, and then we're going to reiterate on some of the history of Psalm 79. And it's the seventh prayer of judgment, a psalm of Asaph, and a sevenfold complaint to God about the enemy. He said, O God, the heathen are come unto thine inheritance. Thine holy temple have they defiled. They have laid Jerusalem on heaps. The dead bodies of thy servants have they given to meat unto the fowls of the heaven, and the flesh of thy servants unto the beasts of the earth. Their blood have they shed like water round about Jerusalem, and there was none to bury them. Can you imagine? Here they are in the city of God and around about Jerusalem, and there's none left even to bury them. And those people that killed them aren't going to bury them, so they back off and they get away from there for a while and let the buzzards and the fowls of the air and the rats and everything else that would come and eat the bodies, they just don't even bury the bodies. They just leave them there and let them get ate by the fowls of the air. We're going to see that again. We're going to see that again in the Great Tribulation. We're going to see where God calls all the fowls of the world, not just from that location, but all the fowls from everywhere in the world are going to come to that great Euphrates riverbed and eat the flesh of thousands, hundreds of thousands, millions of bodies will be there. And the birds will come and clean up that mess. And we are, listen, and the blood have they shed like water round about Jerusalem, and there was none to bury them. We have become a reproach to our neighbors, a scorn and derision to them that are around about us. How long, Lord, wilt thou be angry forever? Shall thy jealousy burn like fire? And now we're going to see 4 requests for judgment, 7 requests for mercy. And that's what you and I need to ask for mercy. We need to be careful if we ask for judgment. If God judged us for the way we treat Him, we would probably be in real bad shape. So we need to ask for mercy because we are human beings and we are finite and we are frail in our minds, sometimes in our hearts toward God. And He rightfully, if he took us to heaven early, it would be rightfully so for some of the actions that we commit. So we need to stay under ourselves on a regular basis. Otherwise, we're going to be in a bad place. Now remember, 4 requests for the judgment, 7 requests for mercy. Pour out thy wrath upon the heathen, that they have not known thee, and upon the kingdoms that have not called upon thy name. When I stop right here at this period, it gives me a question. The United States of America has said, in God we trust. We were founded upon the faith of God, the God of heaven, the God of Israel. And we were founded upon this faith. And we need to always remember this faith that we need to call on. For they have devoured Jacob and laid waste his dwelling place. Oh, remember not against us former iniquities. Let thy tender mercies speedily prevent us, for we are brought very low. What he's saying, God, if you don't speedily or hurry up and give us a reprieve, there's none of us going to be left. Your children, none of your children will be left. They'll all be murdered. And the heathen will dwell in this land. And help us, O God, verse 9, our salvation for the glory of thy name, and deliver us and purge away our sins for thy name's sake. Wherefore should the heathen say, where is their God? Let him be known among the heathen in our sight by the revenging of the blood of thy servants, which is shed. Let the singing and the prisoner come before thee. According to the greatness of thy power, preserve thou those that are appointed to die, and render unto our neighbors sevenfold unto their bosom their reproach, where they have reproached thee, O Lord. So, you see, what he's saying here, Jacob's saying here, is because this is your city, not mine. We need you to come on the scene. And we need you to stop what's happening here. And so that's what he's asking. So we, thy people, and the sheep of thy pasture, will give thee thanks forever. We will show forth thy praise to all generations. You see, he's come to the place, Jacob's come to the place where he's recognizing God as the chief shepherd. God, you've been our shepherd, and we've been your sheep. Now we have been astray, and we have rightfully have been astray, and you have now got our attention. We know you used our neighbors to come in here and start killing a bunch of us, and we've been astray. And so the wolves came in because we were out from under your protection, because you could not protect us when we were out of your will. Let's go back to a place to where Jacob was spoken to by God and had his name changed to Israel. And God is fixing to take this Jacob, which was a subplanter, that was his name, subplanter, and is going to change his name to Israel, which is the future of those generations. And over here in chapter 32 is the story of Jacob was left alone. Before Jacob wrestled with the angel, let's go back where he had left his brother Esau, and he gave his brother 200 she-goats and 20 he-goats, 200 ewes and 20 rams, 30 camels with their colts. Wow, that's 60. 40 kine and 10 bulls and 20 she-asses and 10 foals. And he delivered them under the hand of his servant, and drove themselves, and said unto his servants, pass over before me, and put a space betwixt the drove and drove. And he commanded the foremost, saying, when Esau, my brother, meets thee, and asks thee, saying, whose art thou? And whither goest thou? And whose art these before thee? And thou shalt say, they are to be thy servant Jacob's. It is a present sent unto my lord Esau, and behold, also he is behind us. And so commanded he that the second and third and the follow the drove, saying, on this manner shalt thou speak to Esau. You see, he put a temptation in front of his brother Esau. He's still supplanting. He's sending the he-goats and the she-goats and the she-lambs and the he-lambs and the camels and the little ones, and there's a wagon train, or there's a train of animals led by other people leading them, other shepherds leading each one of those groups. And they're file after file after file after file. It may be 10 miles long. And they're all gifts to Esau. and Jacob still trying to handle it in the flesh. So what he's doing in the flesh, he's making all these offerings to Esau, knowing that Esau has become a powerful man. And Esau could come in there and run over him, and might would, because Jacob had beat him out of his birthright. I really believe everything that happened in Jacob and Esau was planned by God. The devil, he allowed the devil to allow Esau to come out first and become the head guy when Jacob was supposed to come out first. But when they wrestled in their mother's womb, and Esau turned himself around and came out first, that wasn't God's plan. But the devil interfered right there in the physical, which he does. The devil interferes in the physical many times. So we see these two brothers, but Jacob is the one that's supposed to have the blessing. Now Jacob's going to wrestle with God here, and he's going to get the blessing. And say, moreover, behold, thy servant Jacob is behind us. Now, see, Jacob is saying, I'm your servant. That's not true. Jacob is a servant of the Lord Jesus Christ and of God. And he said, I will appease him with the presence that goeth before me, and afterward I will see his face. Peradventure he will accept me. You see, he's still in doing the supplanting. So when the presence over before him and himself lodged that night in the company, and he rose up and night and took his wives and his two woman servants and his 11 sons, and passed over the ford Jabbok, and he took them and sent them over the brook, and sent over that he had. Now listen, in verse 24 begins the announcement of God with Jacob, saying, look, all of your life up to right now, you've been running things. You've been saying this and you've been saying that, and you got all this deal together to send your brother, and you called yourself your brother's servant. I want you to know, you are not your brother's servant. You are my servant. I am God, and you are my servant. And I'm fixing to teach you a lesson. And so, verse 24, Jacob was left alone, and there wrestled a man with him until the break of day. And when he saw that he prevailed not against him, he touched the hollow of his thigh, and the hollow of Jacob's thigh was out of joint as he wrestled with him. And he said, let me go, for the day breaketh. And he said, I will not let thee go, except thou bless me. This is Jacob talking to God. And he said unto him, what is thy name? And he said, Jacob. And the Lord God said to him in verse 28, and he said, thy name shall be called no more Jacob, which meant supplanter, but Israel, for as a prince hast thou power with God and with men, and hast prevailed. And Jacob asked him, and said, tell me, I pray thee, thy name. And he said, wherefore is it to that thou dost ask after my name? And he blessed him there. And Jacob called the place Peniel. For I have seen God face to face, and my life is preserved. And as he passed over Peniel, the sun rose up upon him, and he halted upon his thigh. Therefore the children of Israel eat not the sinew which shrank, which is upon the hollow of the thigh unto this day, because he touched the hollow of Jacob's thigh in the sinew, and it shrank. See, Jacob's hip had jumped out of place, but God snapped it back in place. But then he touched the sinew around it, and he shrank the sinew, the muscle and the fat around that thigh, and made Jacob limp. So Israel, after that, his name was Israel. And Israel limped after that. He limped. He also became the servant of the Most High God, not the servant of Esau. He reckoned himself as the servant of Esau all the way up to this point. And at this point, now he realizes he is the servant of God. He is now the head of a nation called Israelites. And he is the beginning of the Israelites. He started out as a worldly Jacob. And now he is a spiritual Israel. Now he is a spiritual Israel, not Jacob anymore. And so he's come out. He is no more the supplanter, but the servant of God. And he's going to write this psalm. He writes this Psalm 79, where he says, "How long, Lord, wilt thou?" And this is where he made the request and the judgment, 7 requests for mercy. And God gave him mercy. And we're going to see as we go on in the life of Jacob, when we study it, and the life of Esau, how their two lives worked. Actually, Esau got blessed also by God. And Esau is coming to meet Jacob. And if you will read this story over in chapter 32 of Genesis, if you read this story, when they met, Esau said, I don't want what you've given me. I don't want all that stuff. I've got more than you got. I don't have pasture land for what I've got. I'm more wealthy than you are. I am. See, God had blessed both of the boys. He had blessed Esau too. And that is the mercy of God. The mercy of God will bless in a family. You may have a rogue child in your family. And that rogue child can get the blessing of God too, as well as the others that are following the Lord get the blessing of God. And so that's where we are. We're in that place today. And so you're seeing in this one little bitty psalm with just 13 verses, you're seeing that the blessing of God upon a man. Well, we will see you next time. Right. Bye-bye.